All right, welcome to a deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we are plunging into something that feels just incredibly relevant, I think, for pretty much everyone listening.
That sense of overwhelm.
Exactly. If you've ever felt scattered, just overloaded with notifications, maybe struggling to keep up with the sheer volume of everything.
Yeah.
Perhaps feeling a bit like a digital zombie, alive, but maybe not quite present.
That feeling is so common. And, the source we're digging into today argues it's not just some personal failing, it's kind of a consequence of the world we've built around ourselves.
Right. Our brains just weren't really designed for this level of constant input, were they?
No, definitely not.
And this source material, it tackles that feeling head on. It's an article looking at how personal minimalist habits might be a path to finding, well, what it calls modern Zen.
Modern Zen, I like that. Trading complexity for clarity, essentially.
And it frames minimalism not just, tidying your desk, but really decluttering your life, your mind from all these modern demands.
Getting back some control.
So our mission today, let's unpack this article. Let's pull out the key nuggets, the practical insights, maybe find some surprising ideas you can actually use to feel less overwhelmed, more present.
And hopefully less like that digital zombie.
Exactly. Less zombie, more zen.
Let's do it. So the source kicks off by pointing out something pretty obvious, I guess, but worth stating. Technology, the internet, they promised convenience, right?
Easier lives.
But paradoxically, they've kind of led to this immense complexity, this overload. It asks, how can one person possibly stay across everything? Emails, DMs, news feeds, social media updates. It's just relentless.
It really is. And the blunt answer the article gives as well, you don't. You can't.
Right.
Which, according to the source, is why we're living in what it maybe a bit dramatically calls the digital dark ages.
Digital dark ages. And what they mean by that, I think, is this state where the sheer volume of digital stuff just swamps our brains. It overwhelms our cognitive capacity, leaves us functioning poorly, feeling maybe numb, disengaged. Hence that zombie idea again.
Yeah, it makes sense. And so it proposes that intentionally adopting minimalist habits is like a powerful countermeasure, a way to find this new version of Zen, calm focus amidst the chaos.
Okay, so how? How would we actually do that according to this source? Let's get into the specific habits it recommends.
Right.
First one up, and this feels pretty fundamental, it's the power of focusing on just one thing.
Yeah, the source is really strong on this. It pushes back hard against multitasking. The author even says something like, they feel like a useless sack of potatoes trying to do more than one thing.
Huh. I can relate to that.
Me too.
Yeah.
So why is multitasking so bad, according to the article? Society kind of pushes it, right?
It does. But the argument here is, we thought we could juggle everything, but the reality is, it just shatters our attention. Makes us less effective at everything.
Look, you feel busy, but you're not actually getting the important stuff done.
Exactly. Spinning wheels. It gives this great example from the author's own business. They hit a plateau, things weren't growing, so they decided to go back to basics.
And their goal wasn't just work harder, it was actually to work less.
Right. Specifically, they aimed for 200% revenue growth so they could hire a team and, get some time back.
Okay, ambitious goal.
Very. And they realized they were burning energy on tiny little tasks like trying to save a few bucks on moving a website platform or something. Things that wouldn't actually get them anywhere near that huge 200% growth target.
Ah, okay. So this is where the focus insight really comes in. They figured out the one thing, the single lever that would get them there.
Creating a specific annual membership offer. All their research, their data, it all pointed to this one strategy.
So what did they do?
They took a pretty radical step. They decided to go, and this is the term the source uses, full monk mode.
Monk mode. Okay, tell me more.
So monk mode, as defined here, means carving out dedicated time and mental space by, intensely avoiding all the non-essential stuff. Anything not related to that single goal. They just cleared the decks. Focused only on launching and executing that one membership offer for 6 solid months.
6 months of just one thing. That takes discipline. And did it work?
Well, yeah, they saw a pretty decent uplift almost straight away. The core idea here, the source says, is that by radically concentrating your limited energy, your attention, on the single highest impact activity.
You get way more bang for your buck than scattering your effort.
Exactly. Disproportionate progress. It calls this focused execution magic. like compound interest for your goals, amplifying everything toward that one outcome.
That really makes you think. It raises that question for you listening, doesn't it? In your life, your work, your roles, right now, it's the one thing.
The one thing that could really move the needle for you.
And what's the small daily crap, as the source puts it, that you could maybe ignore or go monk mode against?
Yeah, definitely something to reflect on. Okay, so shifting gears a bit now from work focus to personal finance, the article talks about automating investing.
Right.
The author shares their own practice. They set up automatic monthly transactions to just buy stocks. Did the research once, set it up, and now it just happens, runs in the background.
And what's interesting there is the sort of emotional detachment it brings.
Totally.
The author says when the market goes up or down, they basically don't care. They've removed that urge to constantly check, to react, to try and time the market based on fear or greed.
Yeah, no emotional decision making. And the compound effect, both financially and I guess mentally, is huge. This small automated habit built up a substantial portfolio for them.
It mentions it was up 20% even in rough markets, with dividends just automatically reinvested.
Right. So the core insight, automating your finances, according to the source, just removes a significant mental load, reduces stress. It fosters this kind of financial zen.
Financial zen, I like that. It all contributes to that overall sense of peace, right?
Definitely. And that theme of reducing mental load carries right into the next habit, using Gmail filters for a cleaner inbox.
Ah, the inbox battle, a classic.
Indeed. The author actually switched email providers specifically to get better, more powerful filters. And the goal is simple. Wake up to a clutter-free inbox every morning.
Because, as the source argues pretty forcefully, you shouldn't have a full-time job just sorting email, right?
Exactly. Filters let you automatically shunt newsletters, low-priority stuff, into specific folders so you can look at them if and when you choose to, not have them screaming for attention all the time.
That feeling of hitting inbox zero, seeing that empty screen, the source presents it as this really tangible win, reduces that constant cognitive drain.
And it mentions other steps too, like unsubscribing aggressively, blocking spammers, maybe even using virtual assistants to get further up that Zen ladder of digital clarity.
Zen ladder, okay.
The core idea is just proactively managing that digital inflow. It's essential if you want to reclaim your attention and your peace of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And that focus on reclaiming time, reclaiming space, it leads perfectly into the next habit they talk about, which is insisting on zero work on the weekends.
This is a big one, even for people who genuinely love their work.
Right.
The source really stresses how critical it is to disconnect. It argues your creative brain needs that space. It needs peace, randomness, dedicated time away from work stuff to just recharge and process information properly.
The author says they've made most weekends totally work-free. Maybe one quick email check Saturday morning, but that's it.
And the feeling that creates, the source describes it as profound, feeling light, refreshed, ready for Monday morning.
Not starting the week already drained.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the insight here is that real disconnection, it isn't laziness, it's actually essential recovery time, processing time.
It fuels creativity, stops a burnout, makes space for other important parts of life, all contributing to that modern zen.
Absolutely. Here's an interesting shift. Moving from productivity and digital stuff more towards consumption, specifically. Choosing to read books instead of just getting lost in all the online noise.
Yeah. The internet is described, I think the phrase was so damn noisy.
Yeah, noisy, full of trash, people just looking to argue, often really low quality content. He even mentions, the rise of AI-generated filler content.
Right. So what's the antidote presented here?
The author says they basically fled back to Zen by loading up an iPad Kindle, specifically one not connected to the internet, with actual traditional books.
Offline reading. Old school.
Kind of. Yeah. And the contrast the source draws is really striking. Traditional books, it argues, are just way more edited, more refined, more deeply considered than some random blog post or tweet, no matter how much energy is behind that post.
So choosing curated, deeper content gives more lasting value, more mental nourishment than just the endless, often superficial scroll.
That's the core insight, yeah.
Yeah.
Quality over quantity in what you consume mentally.
Which brings us, inevitably, to the scroll machine itself. The next habit, confronting and decluttering your phone.
Oh boy. Yeah, the source is incredibly blunt about phones.
Doesn't hold back, does it?
Not at all. Calls the phone the place where dreams go to die. Argues they're making us stupid by outsourcing our thinking to tech companies and just constantly demanding our attention.
Ouch. So what's the author's approach? How minimal are we talking?
Very minimal, primarily uses it for calls, SMS, and the camera app. That's basically it.
No social media app.
None installed, and keeps all notifications permanently off. They describe themselves as being crazy about installing any new apps at all, because more apps just mean more potential time sucked away.
It's almost a defiant stance, isn't it? The quote was something like, I don't need the phone needs me.
Exactly. And the recommendation reflects that commitment. It's pretty extreme.
Right.
Turn your phone display to black and white mode. Delete everything except maybe essential family contacts and the camera. And commit to doing everything else, email, browsing, whatever, on a desktop or laptop, where you're less likely to get constantly pinged and distracted.
So the core insight is really about reclaiming control over your attention, right? Taking it back from the device that's designed to hijack it. Fundamental for feeling present, achieving that digital zen.
Couldn't agree more. And that leads to the final habit discussed in the article, which loops back nicely to presence. It's about choosing active presence over passive consumption.
Specifically, prioritizing time with loved ones, in the author's case, their kids over just, zoning out in front of Netflix.
Right, and the author is really open about this. Admits loving TV, having a history of watching, tons of it. Notes watching 8+ hours a day as a kid, feeling almost programmed to watch TV.
Wow, okay, so how did they shift that?
It's a simple, intentional reframe they use now. When that temptation to just switch on the TV hits, they ask themselves, could I use this time to be with my daughter instead?
And the answer
is always yes. They note, always.
That's powerful.
It is. And the payoff, according to the source, is huge. Time spent actually engaged with his daughter creates these lasting nostalgic memories, deepens their connection.
Which it contrasts really sharply with, trashy Netflix stories that you'll probably forget in a week.
Exactly. So the insight is clear. Choosing present, meaningful connection over passive, often forgettable consumption leads directly to richer experiences, greater well-being, less TV, more family, more zen.
More zen. And when you look at all these habits together, the focus, the automation, the inbox clearing, the weekend disconnect, the books, the phone declutter, the presence, they all seem to connect back to that one core principle underlying the whole article, don't they?
They absolutely do. Yeah, the entire minimalist habit routine described here, it's all built around that central idea of intentionally choosing less, not more.
Right. Less stuff, less distraction, less busyness.
And it's applied across all these different areas. Managing money, dealing with digital input, structuring work, even how you spend your leisure time, physical possessions too, though maybe less focus on that in this specific piece.
And the source really challenges that default societal script, doesn't it? That idea that more is always better.
Totally. It argues no. Often that's just wrong. More stuff you buy might just mean more debt, more stress, less happiness.
More things you try to juggle at work or online often leads to feeling more fragmented, depressed, maybe less conscious, contributing to that digital dark ages feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's the big takeaway here, according to this source's perspective? It seems to be the trading more for less distraction for more focus.
Less digital noise for more curated quality content.
Less passive watching for more active presence and connection. That's presented as the secret. The secret to cultivating a life that feels richer, less overwhelmed, just more present.
And it's crucial to note, it's not framed as deprivation, is it? It's about making deliberate choices to create space, create clarity, which leads, hopefully, to that modern zen.
Precisely. It's an intentional trade-off for something better.
So as you're listening, maybe think about how these habits could apply in your life right now, especially with the sources you're trying to process, the goals you're aiming for. What's that single point of focus that could unlock real growth for you?
Yeah. What digital clutter could you proactively clear out to get some attention back? What space could you create? Maybe by saying no to something that's demanding your time but not really serving you.
It really brings it home. And maybe a final thought to mull over, building on what the source suggests. If trading more for less truly is the secret to the good life, what's the one more you could potentially shed today, right now, to gain something really invaluable back, whether that's focus or peace or just presence?
That's a great question to leave people with, something to definitely consider as you navigate your own information landscape.